Welcome to Low Power Mode. I'm your host, Breezy, and let's go.
I got an excess of black bile, high irascibility, contemplating checking myself into facility, mental ability clearly affected,
Deep in the dumps, down and dejected.
I've been in low power mode. In low power mode. Been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear. I've been in low. I've been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear.
All right, this episode should be called High Power Mode because one, we're talking about my friend Tony Antonio Herrera's hit single Underdog featuring me. And on top of that, we're talking about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So strap in and get ready for the the African futurisms, the Chicano futurisms. Like, let's go. Music. Okay, Underdog. This beautiful project. Okay, so back in 2020, Antonio Herrera, shout out to Tony, reached out to me on Instagram, I believe. And I had never met him before. And we met up and he showed me this song and he was like, yeah, do you want to be a featured artist? And I was like, hell yeah. So the song is great because Tony's style is like R&B pop with lots of beautiful vocal layering. His record reminds me of Kalila in terms of like the electronic influence as well. But yeah, this song is like an anthem. And I feel like if there was some badass new generation of like a version of like the boy bands I grew up with, but like queer POC, I like this is what I would want to hear and see on MTV. So Underdog is so cool because Tony's idea was to make this track about how it's really flipping the narrative. Like all the bullshit that he had to take growing up, being different, like that's mostly like others feeling of insecurity or their playing out of toxic masculinity. So the theme in this song is like, I am not your, like, bitch, I ain't your underdog. This song, I could hear it as like a theme in film. It's just so solid and good, and it's mixed really well, and I'm a huge fan of the song. But what was so cool was this was summer 2021, and Tony had a lot to do on his own with this video project, but he was like, we have to make a music video. So excuse me, in case you haven't seen it, he rented out this boxing ring up in I think it was Pencow, and we filmed it in the boxing ring, and it was so dope. He had this actor who was like playing this mean bully, and there was my friend Debbie, there was Phil there, who was the makeup artist, but just so beautiful, like he had to be in the video as well. It was so fun, and I love that Tony got a kid to be in the opening scene, so like flashes kind of from like the kid in the ring, and then it ends up being Tony like grown up as an adult. So this video has layers. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, I posted it in the show notes. This track is a banger, and the video, it's so phenomenal. Like I convince Tony to submit it to the Berlin Music Video Awards because it's just so good. I love the art that independent artists are making, and it's so good and high quality these days. It's amazing. But yeah, everything about this and working with Tony, we did an Instagram live discussion about toxic masculinity. It was all just so meaningful, and I love to be a part of shit that is meaningful. So yeah, this was such a pleasure, such an honor. And yeah, and it's great to have like a Tony's from Mexico originally and living in Berlin. And I don't know, it's cool to just like have like two different types of people, marginalized from marginalized cultures, like coming together in queerness and being like, we are like, we're nobody's underdog, we're nobody's victim. I don't know, I just felt like a superhero. And thank you to Tony for allowing that to exist in like my real world. And yeah, this project means so much to me. So check out Underdog. Um and yeah, I I can't say enough good things, but gonna try to keep it moving. So let's move on to film. Movies. Film. So I've been trying to decide whether or not Black Panther Wakanda Forever, the sequel to Black Panther, is the best film that I've ever seen. I'm I just don't know because excuse me. I'm going to quote a lot of random sources. I'm just going to throw some shit at you. So there was something on Hulu called it was the 2020 is like a news channel. So 2020 presents Black Panther in Search of Wakanda. This was something that I watched on a little special that they put on Hulu. And in it, somebody says, I don't like it's, we've never seen two like different people of color or like brown people on screen together with this type of budget. We just have not seen it. And it's striking and inspiring and invigorating and honestly life-changing. I think about the kids who see this, and just to take a step back before we go deep in, I wonder these days where to put hope into, like back in the day there was like Obama, and like we didn't have as much information even before that, so it wasn't as overwhelming. And these days it feels like everything is dark and overwhelming to me. And so to have something so bright and so powerful and so indigenous, talk about decolonization through mainstream art, it was just so powerful. So I'll get more into it, but like this film low-key changed my life. Not even kidding. Okay, so where to begin? I mean, if you haven't seen the original Black Panther, I guess I can say that it's more Western focused. It's more like US focused. There's a whole storyline that's happening in Oakland, California, and then there's also what's happening in Wakanda. And Wakanda is somewhere in East Africa. So, and it's like a hidden world, hidden city where like you can only get there through this like African, I don't want to say magic, but these new technologies, new ways, new and old ways of doing things. And so and the Black Panther, T'Challa, played by the late Chadwick Boseman. Black Panther was there to protect Wakanda, was king. And Princess Shuri, younger sister, Queen Ramonda, the mother, played by Angela Bassett. So just it was stunning. I remember this came not too far after Get Out. Excuse me. And when I saw Get Out in theaters, I just was blown away. I was like, I didn't know I could care about film like this. And Black Panther was like just this, it was that feeling, but then also this just celebration, like to be Black or African, even as a mulatto, like even as like not a full African or African American person. I felt so much pride and unity when it came to this film. And so this next iteration happening 4 years later, excuse me, we lost Chadwick in summer 2020, I believe, to colon cancer. And so initially, Ryan Coogler, the director, originally from the Bay Area, from Oakland, California, had built the storyline around the Black Panther. But after Chadwick transitioned, we see Ryan reshaping everything. And the film matches where the actual actors in like the actual world is at when it comes to losing this person, this like colossal person in Black cinema, Chadwick Boseman. So what Ryan Coogler does is essentially takes the themes of death, the themes of ancestors and going to be with the ancestors and accessing the ancestors. It Motherhood is a huge theme. The construct in one's mind when someone transitions from the living to the dead, what does that look like? In some people's minds, they have these ritualistic ancestral views, but Princess Shuri, like that's Queen Ramonda, and Princess Shuri, she has a more a younger, more tech based view on things, more scientific. So it's they do such a good job of playing out these real world kind of dichotomies in the film, in this fictional thing with like technology and stuff. But Shuri thinks technology, is the way forward, and she buries herself in that and doesn't want to process the loss of her older brother in the Black Panther. And so it's this movie is so it hits me on so many levels, but one of the big ways is how it deals with grief and with transitioning and with rituals. And it really inspires me to want to do more work to connect with my ancestors. I was never shown how to do that, and this film inspires me to do that. It's so phenomenal. Okay, on top of that, we have Wakanda, right? And different to the first film, Wakanda Forever has a much more global focus. It's so fascinating. We're going from like Wakanda to the UN to like Haiti to Cape Verde. It's fascinating. So, but it's less Western focused than the first one, which is great. And so, what is different about this one than the last one is that we get this view, which is that the whole world sort of looks at Wakanda as this powerful nation because it is the only place that holds the vibranium. But inevitably, I mean, the Earth is the Earth, right? Like you can't go by country or continent borders necessarily, especially if we're talking about something shooting from space and hitting the Earth. So what happens is they have vibranium in a different place, a place unexpected, an undiscovered nation. And that nation is called Talokan. And the leader of that nation is called Kukulkan or Namor because there's this whole story, but if I zoom out, so essentially what's happening now is that there's this new nation at play and they want to remain uncolonized and peaceful, and so they do not want to be discovered that vibranium is there, like violence over resources. So okay, so that being said, like it becomes more about, are these two nations, one well known and powerful, so almost like Wakanda is the old institution, and another one undiscovered, so a new kind of power at play, also extremely powerful if we're talking force and vibranium. And so will Wakanda play along with this new nation, or are they going to go against the rest of the whole world? And so, okay, so that's fascinating. And I think there was so much thought and care given to storyline in this film, because even though it was like 2 hours and 40 minutes, it really moves so well and everything connects and everything makes sense and you get it. And so, okay, what next? Okay, so originally from the Stan Lee films, there was the Black Panther who was created in the 60s, like 1966, right as the Black Power movement was happening in real life. And there was this other character, I think this character came earlier on, called the Submariner, and he like ruled the underworld, the water, like the oceans. And he was like this white guy and kind of brash and arrogant. And so what Ryan Coogler did, the director, was asked himself, what if we make this underwater nation, and the Submariner, he ruled like Atlantis, which we are kind of familiar with, this like underwater city ideas. So Ryan Coogler is like, what if we take this idea of the underwater nation and this superhero, the underwater king, or the feathered serpent king, and create a connection with Mayan and Mesoamerican culture. And that's exactly what he did, which was so brilliant. And never before, I would say, has Mexican film and TV like broken over in this kind of way. I think like Tenoch Huerta is like probably the first. No, maybe not the first. I don't know. But like, no, I can't think of, I'm trying to think of other people who have broken through on this scale. And we're talking Marvel scale as well, Disney scale. So it's just so exciting. It's so exciting one of the leads, Maybell, she plays like the underwater queen. She said she didn't speak English before starting to work on the film, and she speaks English totally fine in interviews. It's wild. Okay, so they base this whole city, Talocan, on the Mayan peoples, and the way it came to be is so fascinating and rich and like magical realist. I really, really love this. So they made the story that there was this one crap, what was his name? There's this one person of the Mayan people who like discovered or started trained himself to like hold his breath or something, and like found this leaf or herb or something, so made with this material so that the people would be able to breathe underwater. And so he had the people of his tribe, because they saw the colonizers coming. They had the people ingest this herb, and so it kind of took them away. I don't want to say like they weren't they, I mean, yeah, I guess they died, but it was a transition. Okay, so they died on our sort of normal plane of thinking, but in this universe they transitioned to be underwater people. Like essentially they kind of woke up and then had to go into the water to be able to breathe. And in this way it's kind of like this shedding of the old self, or like this dying out, and then this new thing is reborn. So Kukulkan's mother was the first. She was pregnant at the time and she didn't want to take the herb, but then she took it, and then she was the first person to have a baby under the water. And he was like a mutant, quote unquote, and he had these pointy ears and wings on his ankles. And so that is he was promised to be king, because he was the first one. And so that is kind of part of his story. But another part is that when his mother transitioned, her wish was to be buried in the land that she grew up in. So Kukulkan leaves the ocean, goes onto the land to bury his mother, and sees the colonizers burning shit and enslaving people. And that is when he uses his powers for evil, let's say, except it's more for good because he's protecting his people. And they called him, the El Niño Sin Amor, like without love. And so that's his whole like backstory. It's literally about colonization, and his whole motive is to prevent colonization. Like, are you kidding me? That's genius. That's so good. Oh, and representation wise, like already Black Panther broke so many boundaries when it came to African representation of Black and African people, Black women. But on a further level, this representation of Mesoamerican people in like US film or Hollywood or whatever we want to call it is so incredible. Like, once again, I've never seen anything like this, and I just think about all the kids who go to the theater, even not even kids who are necessarily Black or from Mesoamerica, like anyone who is not white going to the theater and looking at the screen, like seeing all these skin tones from the darkest of dark to like this, to brown skin. It's like, it's so beautiful. And I think, excuse me, for me, it's such a game changer. I feel like we've really lost leadership. This is what I was going to say before. We've lost leadership when it comes to who to put our hope in. You know, Obama carried that not just for this country, the States, but for the world. And it's been difficult to like find places to believe in and to just like fully feel like, yes, I can be a part of this. And that is what Ryan Coogler and the whole team, because it's like Ruth Carter, the costume designer, it's like so many people who are a part of this team that's making this movie come to life. But for them uh to essentially play a positive future for us on on the highest level, like on the biggest possible level. It's so game changing. I hope I'm not like just saying it's game changing, it's life changing the whole time, because that's how I feel. But it's crazy. It's so amazing. They go to all these indigenous places, you know, Yucatan, Mexico, Yucatan, like Maya, Haiti. Like, it's incredible. Okay. So, another storyline that we have going on is with the scientist. And the scientist is played beautifully by Dominique Thorne. She cannot be taller than like 5'2", but big presence on screen. And what happens is this college student, university student at MIT, is like essentially like for homework. What she's doing for homework is being used at like the top level of the government in order to find vibranium. And so she has to be stopped, you know. And so Princess Shuri and the general go and like approach her in the dorm room, and like they need to bring her to Talocan, otherwise there's going to be hell to pay. And so it's fascinating because like it's just great, like the scene where she comes in, because Shuri is like, no, I got this, in her African accent, and then goes up to the dorm room door and uses an American accent, and then goes inside the dorm room and code switches right back to African. And and Riri, that's her name in the film, Riri Williams, she knows exactly who Shuri is. And she's like, am I being recruited? She's so funny. The comedy moments are so funny. Um, she she ends up being so smart and creating these things that are so technologically advanced that she's sought after by the most powerful nations in the world. This 5'2" black girl with cornrows. Like, yes, that is the type of representation that we need. It's incredible. I feel like black girls everywhere are going to be more into science after seeing this superhero film. Like, what? There's no level that this movie does not hit it on. So that's awesome. And she also, like, there's this whole thing with her dad, and she like grew up, she built her first machine when she was 3 years old, and her dad would just like, she'd work on cars with her dad and stuff. And so she builds this machine and she ends up becoming this other superhero, and shit is wild. There's so much. There's so much that it's hard to break it down. I saw this film twice so far. The first time I took some notes, like a few notes. And basically I just tried to like get the different scenes in different locations because they threw a lot at you. But then for the second time, I went to go see it at this theater closer to where I live. It's called Pittsburgh. It's not Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's Pittsburgh with no H at the end. But they had this theater called the Maya, or was it the Mayan Theater, and at the beginning of the movie they did the little like ad thing where this brown skinned girl walking around being like, yeah, so this person in East LA, they love seeing movies, and their whole thing was like putting movie theaters in neighborhoods that wouldn't otherwise have them. And I was like, this is awesome, this is so lining up with everything. And so that's where I saw it the second time, and it was awesome. There was this cute little family, these two little black girls. One was a baby, and she did not cry once during this film. Like, it was magical. But the second time, I was really trying to like write down more notes, and it's hard to write in the theater. It's so dark in there, but I'm gonna look live as we do this because there's almost too much for me to talk about, and I want to just kind of take some random things instead of like sweeping things about the story. Okay. Oh, like this was cool. Instead of the funeral was stunningly filmed, was gorgeous, beautiful. In the very beginning, we see drumming, we see everybody wearing white, we see a mural of Chadwick Boseman or of T'Challa on in the city on like a billboard kind of. It's stunning, the costumes, the makeup, the dancing, like everything accurate, historically accurate. Like they went on tons of research trips in order to make sure that this was properly represented. And yeah, the funeral was stunning. And then oh, it's so heartbreaking because Shuri like has a really hard time physically letting go of the casket. But once she does, the casket like like sky beams up into this panther head spaceship thing. And I love that visual as well. You know, we bury into the ground, and this was rising up, you know, going up with the ancestors. Oh, so good. So well done. Um, let's see what else we got. Oh, and in the very beginning, I didn't even notice this the first time. Shuri is praying to the whichever god she believes in, and is saying, I will, like, let me save my brother, and then I'll believe in you, essentially. So that drives the whole thing because Shuri didn't save T'Challa, and it's very like right in the beginning. Right in the beginning. It's hectic. We're right in the moments where T'Challa is dying, and Shuri is doing everything she can in order to try to save him. And then Queen Ramonda comes running in with these gorgeous, beautiful, like white gray locks, and says, T'Challa is with the ancestors, or your brother is with the ancestors. And it's just like, bam, we're hit right from the beginning. And yeah, I think, you know, um not only was it a memorial or like a therapeutic thing for the actors and the whole team and everyone to do because they had worked with Chadwick Boseman at the center of it, but I also felt like it was a memorial service for us, like for the general public who loved him. It was like we can shed some tears here. It's like a safe space to do that and to grieve for Chadwick, and I really felt that. Also, in watching some interviews and listening to stuff, um, Ryan Ryan took like all of the cast, including the new members, um, before they were filming, out to Chadwick's burial place, and they visited, and they they were with him right before doing the film. And I think something like that really sets the tone for this type of project. And I think that's why, even though this is a Marvel movie, even though this is a Disney movie, even though this is a Hollywood movie, it's so rooted and so grounded in these very basic human things like grief and like cultural representation. And so that's just incredible to see. Oh, something that was so cool is like, so there's like African traditional warfare and the or native traditional warfare, and something that uh the Talokanil, I think they're called Talokanil, used, was sonic attack. So playing a tone for people who wanted to attack them, they would play this tone underwater, and that would make people, when they listened to it, jump, like mindlessly just walk into the water and drown. And so that was phenomenal. That was so cool. Um Also, I got to say, um I'm not a huge action movie person. I love a good like The Matrix, like that type of thing, but um generally I don't need like excessive violence and fight scenes. However, I thought that the fight scenes and action scenes in this film were so well done. It was so awesome. Like I think I think Kukulkan is like one of the coolest superheroes I've ever seen. Obviously, I love the Black Panther, but he has wings on his ankles. So the way that he like cuts through the air and flies through the air, it's so interesting because it's not like he's a bird where like his center of gravity is like more wide and shallow. No, he's a tall. This dude has got to be clearing 6 feet. Maybe like he could be like 6'2" or 3. And so this, and he's yeah, he's like thick, he's like gorgeous. And so this massive dude is being um is is flying from his feet. So the way that they made that look was so beautiful and satisfying, and it made me want to do that. Like if there was some sort of invention where you could like fly that way and kind of use your feet, and like the way he would kind of stop in the air and change direction, so well done. The way they filmed some of these scenes were so well done. Oh, the fight scenes, like there's this one scene where the general and Princess Shuri are getting the scientist and to bring back, um and there's this scene where it's the general versus, what is it, his real name is Alex, but I forget what he's called in the film. But I guess he's like the Talakanil general, and so he and the general Okoye are going at it, like just fighting, just like with the spears and just killing it, and it's great. Then at one point, um, the Talakanil general knocks Okoye the off of her balance. She kind of skids against the ground. Spear bounces towards him, and he pushes the spear back towards her. And I thought, wow, this is so small, but this is so big to me. Like no, let's keep fighting. Let's make sure this is a fair fight. I don't know. That was some of the subcontext that I was getting from that. It wasn't like just so violent and bloody and like cheap methods of warfare. It was like, no, we are fighting. Here, take your sword. Just, it's the little things. All right, let's see what else I got in these messy notes because it's so hard to see in the theater. Oh, something that I loved was, so Nakia um was the um wife, I guess, of partner, the partner of T'Challa, and um I don't want to ruin the very end just in case you haven't seen it yet, but she there's her like superpower thing is being able to speak any language. And so in real life, Lupita Nyong'o does speak Spanish. I think she was born in Mexico. And so it's so cool to see Lupita speaking Spanish on screen. Again, representation wise, to see a dark skinned, what we think of as an African person speaking fluent Spanish on film is so awesome. And Ryan Coogler, I don't know if yeah, I think he like wrote these things in. I mean, of course, it happened naturally as well. You know, the whole theme of these Mayan people, you would have in present day someone be speaking Spanish, but it was just amazing. That was awesome to see. What else? Okay, so towards there's simply too much. Like I could talk about this film forever and ever, but there's themes like how is not as important as why, and certain little sayings that you hear in the film. But one that I really liked, and sort of the note that they ended on, was Princess Shuri has this opportunity to kill Kukulkan, but she thinks about Queen Ramonda, her mother, her ancestor at this point, and she says, "Show them who you are," and she lets him live, and they end up like kind of forming a slight alliance. It's not really that promising, but they go back to this ship where the Wakandans are fighting the Talakanil, and they both like command their armies to stop fighting and like tell them the new situation, and to see them standing there like on this flying Black Panther spaceship thingy, and with Princess Shuri, the new Black Panther on the left, and Talokan, Kukulkan, the king of Talokan, on the right, and just to see once again this beautiful brownness represented, two cultures together, united. Oh, it's beautiful. It's so strong. So not only did this film serve as a way to unite brown people in a it was somehow, the last one was Pan-African unity, and this one is like brown people, like people of color unity, but also it was a memorial for Chadwick Boseman. I mean, down to like the little part in the beginning where they do the Marvel Studios, like where they show you that they do it in a fancy way in the movies, but this was like all little images of Chadwick or T'Challa in the first one that made up the letters of the Marvel studios. It was stunning. It was stunning. And we had these ideas about knowing who you are and who your people are, and protecting that, and just phenomenal. Like, yeah, I'm still trying to decide if this is my favorite movie I've ever seen. It's just, it hits on so many things, and it's so exciting, and it's so real. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Go see Black Panther Wakanda Forever if you have not already. And let's take it on out to the outro. Hey, listen, sometimes you gotta check in with yourself.
Check in with yourself.
All right, so I'm really, you can probably hear it in my voice, like I'm really in a good place right now and really grateful for that because it's been a really, really hard year. But on the 18th of November was when we like kind of first moved into our apartment here in the Bay Area. And last week I had such a turnaround type of week. I was at a place with my healing journey where I've been more able to work, and I was able to uh, assist in a music studio, a beautiful, stunning, gorgeous music studio, and I was able to finally finish this track. Queer POC. I've already played it at festivals, unmixed, just whipping it up like as a demo and just performing that. But this is the first track that I'm mixing in Pro Tools, which is like the studio standard. And Ableton is more fun and easier, but Pro Tools is like if you're gonna be a student studio engineer and like work on the big console desk, you need to know this program. So it took me a really long time, but I'm super proud of myself for getting through. I've learned a shit ton along the way. And yeah, in this song, it means so much to me. And I started working on it in June, took, July and August to tour, came back in September, and then have been working on it for all of October and this part of November. So I'm freaking pumped. I'm ready to release it into the world. Um, it's super exciting for me. I haven't felt well enough, physically well enough to work on putting out music in over a year. So this is huge, and I thank everyone for bearing with me, and I'm I'm just excited. I'm just excited to you every time you like put out a song or whatever, it's like for me it's like letting go of more of myself, like sharing more of myself in a way that it's really hard to do from day to day. So, yeah, I'm super excited, feeling really good about this, manifesting a cool video, and yeah, thank you again for tuning in. Until next time.
I've been in low power mode. In low power mode. Been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear. I've been in low. I've been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear.